Oh, we didn't go to the Irish Hills this weekend, folks. We went to the mountains of Busch, and Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr. would rather have not taken that trip. This episode of Above the Yellow Line was presented to you by Haymaker Coffee. If you work hard, run hard, fight hard, and play hard, Haymaker Coffee is the coffee for you. Enter the promo code RACE10 to receive 10% off your order of Haymaker Coffee. Hey race fans, it's Taylor, and welcome back to Above the Yellow Line, the show where we talk all about the NASCAR Cup Series. It was my first time going to Michigan International Speedway in person, and the fan experience was fantastic. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but the track announced it was their biggest crowd since 2016. Everybody wanted to see those Gen 7 cars in action, so it was a great turnout, a great event. It also shook up the playoff results, so without further ado, let's get to our results of the Firekeepers Casino 400. Listen, I was afraid he wasn't going to win a race this season. I didn't know when his next win was coming, but after a 65-race winless streak, Kevin Harvick brushes that off and becomes the 15th different winner of the 2022 season. Harvick got the lead and ran with it after a late race caution between Chastain and Bell. Chastain was coming back on the track from the pits, and Bell tried to throw a block, and it didn't go well. It sent Bell into the wall, actually took off part of his fender. It was pretty gnarly. Chastain didn't endure a lot of damage, but then Harvick got the lead after that restart, and he, like I said, went away with it. Let me tell you, when Harvick got the lead, everybody was cheering, whether you were a Harvick fan or not. The reason why, you wanted to shake up the playoffs. 2, you wanted to see Harvick win. Or 3, your devotion to Busch beer. Whatever the reason was for you being excited for seeing him take the lead. He ended the winless streak, and it was great to see his emotion and victory landing with his family, thanking his crew, thanking the fans most importantly, because we stuck around during all the weather. But to see a Harvick win in Ford Country was fantastic. So congratulations to that Ford crew on winning the Firekeepers Casino 400. Now let's look at the rest of your top 10. In second place, leading 22 laps from the pole, was Bubba Wallace. It was his first career pole this weekend, and I know after the race he was clearly dejected, but the team has cleaned up a lot of mistakes. I know that there's a win coming for him because if you look at the stats, in the past few races he's finished 3rd, 8th, 5th, and then 2nd at MIS. When we see winners, we usually see that type of pattern where they inch closer and closer to the top 10, to the top 5, then they have those second place finishes, then they win. So I know there is a win coming for Bubba Wallace. I'm hoping it's soon. Maybe not this season. I know when we go back to Talladega, I think he has a really good chance. And obviously, as he's getting better at the normal tracks that we're going to, the 1.5 mile, even just Michigan being a 2-miler, the short tracks, hasn't been the best at short tracks this season, but as he's getting better and more consistent, I see a win very soon in Bubba Wallace's future. So like I said, I know he was dejected, but looking at the positives, his team is moving in the right direction after being in a bad direction earlier this season. So I know it's not the result he wanted, but still a very good day for that 23 team. Now for the 3rd place finisher of Denny Hamlin. I truly believe on one of those last pit stops, if Denny Hamlin didn't have too many men over the wall, he would have won this race. That penalty sent him to the back of the pack. Then he had to plow his way through the field, finishing in 3rd. And if you watched the Michigan race this weekend, you knew how hard it was to pass on the track, and it seemed to be no issue for Denny Hamlin. It was just a matter of time. He didn't have enough time to get back to the front of the field, but a really strong effort from that 11 team. I don't think this was any fault of Denny Hamlin's. So it was unfortunate that the crew kind of messed him up a little bit, but altogether, it was a team effort. They did get him off pit road really fast the rest of the day. It was just that one mistake that took the win away from him, but still a solid day for that 11 team. Then in 4th, we have Joey Logano, 5th, Ryan Blaney, 6th, Truex, 7th, Larson, 8th, Eric Jones with his 8th top 10 of the season. Finished 3rd in Stage 1 and 6th in Stage 2. He gave Petty GMS a really strong day to be proud of. Then 9th, Alex Bowman. This is his first top 10 since the Coca-Cola 600, folks. I don't know if you've been looking at his stats, but with all the DNFs and the 30th place finishes and all that, that is good for this team, and I hate to say that is good or great for this team when it should be a consistency that Hendrick Motorsports, a car at Hendrick Motorsports, should be in the top 10 every single week. I know Bowman is locked in on his contract for next season, and I think in the future, but if I was Mr. H, I would be kind of reconsidering things. Obviously, drivers have dry spells, but with a driver this young that has a few wins last season and this season, I am concerned for Bowman, but it's great to see him back in the top 10 regardless. Then in 10th place, we have to have a Strigley stat for Ty Gibbs in the 10th position. Of course, Joseph Strigley is our stat wizard at TobyChristie.com. He said that since 1984, only 4 drivers have been able to be in the top 20 in their first rookie starts in the Cup Series. Very, very impressive for Ty Gibbs. Obviously, do we expect anything less? No, he is Ty Gibbs. He's able to make impressive stats week after week after week. Especially, I mean, come on. Getting into the Cup car for the first time a few weeks ago, we expected this to be a little bit of a challenge for him. I know that there was carnage on Sunday, I totally understand that, but to be able to make enough passes to get himself into the right position and strategy-wise getting himself into the right position, that was a solid day for that 45 team of Ty Gibbs. So congrats to them on a top 10 finish and Ty Gibbs' first top 10 finish of his Cup Series career. Now let's look at our guys outside the top 10 and the guys that did not finish this race. First off, gotta mention Dillon rebounding from a really scary wreck at the Indy Road Course. He finished this race in the 14th position. This is his best finish since the Darlington race where he finished in the 12th position. Then we gotta look at Austin Hill in his rookie start in the Cup Series and then the RCR 33 car finishing in the 18th position. This is really good, on par with Ty Gibbs and how he entered into the Cup Series this year for his first start. Of course, Austin Hill is probably the front runner for that number 8 seat in 2024 as Tyler Reddick is going to be moving to 2311 Racing in 2024. So already showing some impressive stats so far this season in the RCR 33 car. I don't know if this is going to be his only start in that car. I'm assuming maybe not this season, as I'm sure they want to get Austin Hill as much practice as possible before he makes that full-time jump in 2024, all things assuming, I guess, if we're assuming that he's going to be in that seat. So congrats to Dillon and Austin Hill on those great stats on Sunday. All right, DNFs. We had 10 total DNFs at Michigan International Speedway. Starting on lap 24, there was a major wreck. JJ Yeley was not getting up to speed, slowed down on the track, had a bunch of guys bunch up behind him, and that caused a major wreck. Looking back at the video I got, Austin Cindric hit the wall hard. I am so glad he's okay. I'm so glad everyone involved is okay. And I have to apologize for the Kyle Busch fans out there. I met him before the race. I told him, have a good race, good luck. And obviously you see what happened. He did not finish this race. So I apologize to you all out there who were rooting for Kyle Busch, but that took a lot of great cars out of the race, and a race that really was what could have been for Kyle Busch. I thought he had a really good chance to win this race. I picked him to win this race. So again, another jinx. I apologize, but I will say I brought the Busch cooler. I did, and there wasn't a jinx there, so I jinxed one driver, and I helped another driver win this weekend, so all things considered, things could have been worse, but I do feel bad for that 18 team and everybody involved in that, for me, a senseless wreck. So a lot of guys taken out in that wreck, and then Cole Custer, later in the race, his car actually caught on fire, wheeled it to pit road, got out of the car very quickly. Also glad he is okay. It has not been a really good season for him. But again, glad he's okay, glad he's safe. I don't know what caused that fire under the left tire, really don't know. But yeah, really weird instances with fire this year, especially at the 600 with the gas cans. And I think we had fire with one of the wheels last weekend too. So I don't know what's happening, but everybody was okay as far as we know so far this week. But yeah, lots of guys did not finish this race. Surprising for a Michigan race. Results aside, we got to look at our points now, starting with the above the yellow line points. I think we have a runaway winner for the regular season points championship, and that is Adam with 66 points. I'm in second with 59. Dom has 57, and Brandon has 53. Now let's look at the playoff grid, starting with the guys that have won and are locked in. Hamlin moves up to P4 in the playoff standings, and Bell moves up to the 9th position in playoff standings, and everyone scooches down. And then looking right around the cutoff line, what we thought was a runaway for Blaney and Truex is now a fight to the death with our 15th different winner. Blaney is 19 points above the playoff line and Truex is 19 points below the playoff line. Anyone below Truex in the playoff standing, which is Eric Jones, and I think 18th in points, needs a win in their end because Jones is minus 90 to the good. Now looking at our upcoming tracks, we have Richmond, Watkins Glen, and Daytonas. That is it for the regular season until we start the playoffs. Who do I think has the advantage? Is it Ryan Blaney or is it Martin Truex Jr.? Well, Martin Truex Jr. clearly has the advantage at Richmond. Ryan Blaney has not done super well at Richmond the past few years. Granted, he did finish decently in the spring race, but Martin Truex Jr. finished better. I think Truex has the advantage there. Watkins Glen, I think it's an either or, either Blaney or Truex. Truex is a little bit of a better road course racer, but Blaney can sometimes surprise us there. Daytona, I think Blaney clearly has the advantage. However, I'm going to say overall Truex has the advantage because we know at super speedway races, especially Daytona before the cutoff, everybody's willing to do anything to get that win to be locked into the playoffs. So I think if anyone is possibly going to be safe, it's going to be Martin Truex Jr. And we might see Blaney out of the playoff fight this season, which for me personally, biasly, a little devastating, but I do believe that Martin Truex Jr. does have the advantage to get himself into the playoffs. Now it's time to take a look at our Zyloware MVP and LVPs of the race. Starting with our LVPs, I think after having our points discussion, it's pretty obvious that the losers after this race have to be Blaney and Truex, who are now fighting their way into the playoffs, only 19 points separating them. And then the MVP, the guy that caused all of that, I gotta give this to Kevin Harvick, snapping his winless streak. But there's also some honorable mentions I have to mention, starting with Denny Hamlin, who fought his way back from that late race penalty to get himself to the 3rd position. Bubba Wallace finishing in 2nd after a strong day. And then Noah Gragson has to be another driver that I award the honorary MVP award for this week. He was racing the top 10 pretty much all day. I know he didn't get points in stages 1 and 2, but a very solid day in that 16 car, showing why he deserves a spot in the Cup Series. Unfortunately, his day came to an early end after, I believe, later in the race he had an incident in turn 2. I'm not sure what happened from my vantage point from what I was able to see, but that ended up having him go, or I guess scooting sideways down pit road, was able to get back into his pit box, but unfortunately his day ended there. But prior to that, he was having a fantastic race, incredibly fast, making passes to try to get himself to the lead. So a very good job by all those 3 drivers just mentioned, and then our Zyloware MVP of the week, Kevin Harvick. Speaking of Noah Gragson, let's go down the line talking about key moments from the race and this week as a whole. According to a report by The Athletic, Noah Gragson is slated to move to the 42 car next season that Dillon is exiting to have his start in the Cup Series full time. The Athletic report says, quote, "Another strong season in Xfinity has catapulted Gragson into a prospect many teams have looked at signing. But the winner of that sweepstakes is Petty GMS Motorsports. The team is working towards finalizing a contract with the 24-year-old that will see him take over driving duties of its number 42 car. According to people familiar with the discussion, an official announcement is expected soon." So the question we have to ask ourselves, whether it matters at this point or not, is Noah Gragson ready to race full-time in the Cup Series? In my opinion, yes. Talent-wise, in my opinion, no. Maturity-wise. Talent-wise, for the results he's put into that 16 car running part-time, absolutely, but maturity-wise, we've seen some snafus in the Xfinity Series, some ways that he's not everybody's favorite driver to be racing around, but I can say the same thing for Ty Gibbs. If Ty Gibbs is going to have a chance to race full-time in the Cup Series next year or the year after, I feel like it's fair to allow Noah Gragson the same chance. So, in my opinion, a yes or no, but let me know what you think about Noah Gragson going full-time Cup Series racing in the comments below. Finally, down the line, I want to talk about my fan experience at MIS because it was so much fun. Even with the rain, we actually had to take shelter in our car because it kind of started like hailing. It was either really heavy rain or kind of like hail. I couldn't tell because I literally couldn't see anything as I was running. I was wringing out my shoes, my pants, my shirt, my hair. It literally looked like I just got out of the shower. It was a memory. I would say my only issue this weekend really at all would be, the early start times. If we had an earlier start time, I don't think we would have had to deal with the weather at least as bad. But again, hindsight's 2020. We got the whole race in. But if we had an earlier start time, we wouldn't have to deal with that. Plus, that led to a lack of communication as we were back at the car. I didn't know when we were starting the race until I heard on the intercom at the track that they were singing the national anthem, and we bolted back to the track. So that's another gripe with just the Wi-Fi and cell service, and also a gripe just because a lot of the at-track activities involved cell service or Wi-Fi, you signing up for things. So those were my only issues this weekend, but otherwise it was fantastic. The at-track activities were so fun. The food was great. I got to meet a lot of you guys at the track, which was also very fun. Getting that at-track perspective of the racing was also fantastic because I don't know if you guys saw as many battles as we were able to see in person, and it was just a fun time. Again, if you've never been to a race, you've wanted to go to one, go to one. It is the most fun experience ever, especially I got to take my boyfriend to his first race ever, so that was fun to see him get to experience that, and it was definitely a memory for us. So thank you again to everyone at Michigan International Speedway for making this race happen, and yeah, and thank you to you guys who I was able to meet at the track. But that was my at-track experience. But getting more into it with our race rating this race above or below the yellow line, I want to start with your comments, then I'll close it out with what I saw with my own eyes at the track. From Twitter, 44.3% of you said this was a great race, 43.5% said good, 10.4% said okay, and 1.7% said bad. On YouTube, things were a little different. 55% of you said this was great, 26% of you said good, 14% said okay, and 6% said bad. Specifically on Twitter, Alex said clean air is king. Restarts were crazy as usual. Joey should put wide load on his back bumper. Bubba has a win coming his way. Finally, from Twitter, Ryan G said, seemed like a basic Michigan race, still hard to pass the leader. Next up on YouTube, Ryan said, best Michigan race in a long time, but the end shows that the race should be shortened to 360 miles, or 180 laps, as there would have been action all the way till the end without the dry last 30 laps or so. Finally, William said, good action, plenty of drama, never expected Harvick to win after the last couple of seasons he's had. Good to see Stuart Haas get a win. Closing out your thoughts with the above the line crew, Dom said, MIS holds a special place in my heart, and it was great to see it put on a stellar show. After working 4 race weekends from 2018 through 2019, I witnessed the good and bad of the track. Not only did the track prove its worth on Sunday, the next-gen car did so as well. It was great to see a future Hall of Famer in Kevin Harvick prove that he can still win. With that said, my inner Toyota Racing Development fan can't help but scream into the pillow. This one is going to be hard to swallow for TRD. Lastly, this weekend absolutely solidifies in my mind that Ty Gibbs will drive the Joe Gibbs Racing 18 full-time in 2023. His performance in the 2311 Racing 45 and his Xfinity Busch Series prowess makes him a complete lock. Great show at MIS, and now it's on to Richmond. If you've watched the live streams, you will get the Busch Series reference. Our final thought comes from Above the Yellow Line crew member Adam Lucas. He said, "What a solid Michigan race. It featured almost every type of drama a race could offer. Hard charging and good clean true racing throughout the field. You don't need cautions to make a race exciting. Also, seeing the Busch Light Apple car break Kevin Harvick's 2-year winless streak is just icing on this beautiful cake of a weekend." Michigan gets a beautiful 84 out of 100, which makes it above the yellow line. So for my race rating, I gotta go back to the fan experience just a little bit. Obviously, I don't want that to play bias in how I thought the race went, in my opinion, but every time I've gone to a race, I've actually camped at the track, and this time we just drove there. We went there for the day, then we drove on back, so it felt a little different this time than the previous races, plus since I've worked a race before for media and then came back as a fan, that also made it a little different, but overall the racing was solid for a Michigan race, better than I've seen in years at Michigan. The only thing that really frustrated me about this race was drivers would go into turn 1, try to set up a pass, turn 2 would try to make the pass, couldn't make it work, turn 3 they'd try to make the pass again, and turn 4 they would complete a pass or they would cycle through again until they got the pass to work. It was really a track position race, and usually I don't like those races, but there was enough racing in the mid-pack that was really captivating, and plus there were a lot of battles at the front of the field. For the lead at one point, there was like 3-way battles probably twice throughout the race for the lead that made things very interesting and made things really intense as well. So that was incredibly fun to watch. I feel very fortunate to have gone to the 600 this year, which is one of the best races I have seen in years, and a lot of fans say that they've seen in years, and I feel very lucky to have gone to this race. I don't know if Kevin Harvick's going to be able to win again or not, and just having that experience, I feel incredibly lucky. Bias aside, though, on the racing alone, I gotta give the Michigan race a solid 83% above the yellow line. Like I said, 83 pretty solid, especially with a race that was not a runaway until the very end, the last 30 laps. And then when Bubba Wallace had the lead too, that was pretty much a runaway, but we knew we had a lot of racing left to go. Things were racy, things were dicey. It was a lot of fun, but now it's time to look ahead to this weekend at Richmond for the Federated Auto Parts 400, starting with our preview of your track facts and driver stats. For Richmond, the track length is 0.75 miles long, with the race length being 300 laps or 400 miles. Stage 1 is 70 laps, Stage 2 is 160 laps, and the final stage is 170 laps. Now for your driver stats, the last driver to win at the track was Denny Hamlin in the spring. The active driver with the most track wins is Kyle Busch with 6 wins. The active driver with the best average finish at the track overall is Kyle Busch with an average finishing position of 6.9. The team with the most track wins is Joe Gibbs Racing with 18 wins. And finally, the wins by manufacturer, Chevrolet has 39, Ford has 31, and Toyota has 16. All of this data from driveraverages.com. Finally, let's close out this video with our 2 watch, 2 worry for the Richmond racing weekend. Gotta start off with our guys to worry about, and one of those unfortunately has to be Bubba Wallace. He's had a really solid top 10 streak going, but I think that's going to end this weekend, especially if we look back at the spring race where he finished in the 26th position. He was 26th in stage 1 and 20th in stage 2. Unless they've magically figured out some sort of system to get him better at that track, I don't think he's going to continue that top 10 streak, but I hope to be proven wrong. But Bubba Wallace is my first guy I'm going to be worried about. Finally, I'm going to be worried about Ryan Blaney. If we look back at the spring, he won stage 1 and finished in the 7th position. But will that be enough to secure him into the playoffs? I don't think so, because if we look back at the last 6 races for Ryan Blaney in the stats that he has had, he has finished in the top 10 twice, and he has finished in the top 24 times with an average finishing position of 14.8. So I'm going to be worried about him because I think this is Martin Truex Jr.'s chance to secure himself into the playoffs. So he's going to also be one of my guys to watch. Moving on to the drivers I'm going to be watching. For Martin Truex Jr., in the last 6 races, he has won 3 of those with an average finishing position of 2.3. In the spring, he finished in the 4th position, and he won stage 2, so if we're comparing him to Ryan Blaney, who won stage 1, finished in the 7th position, he does have the ultimate advantage. Finally, for the guy I'm going to be watching, I gotta be watching Denny Hamlin. Of course, winning the race in the spring, I want to see if he can continue that momentum, especially, in my opinion, after a heartbreaker at Michigan. So, do you think we're going to get a 16th different winner? And who are your 2 watch, 2 worry for Richmond? Let me know in the comments below, and with that, we are done with this episode of Above the Yellow Line, the show where we talk all about the NASCAR Cup Series. To hear more from us, check out our social media pages at _TaylorKitchen_ on Twitter for post-race polls and daily questions. Also follow Above the Yellow Line on Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Also, make sure to check out TobyChristie.com on all social platforms to find great motorsports content, and TobyChristie.com to hear and read more from the team and your favorite drivers. Last but not least, I want to thank Zyloware and Haymaker Coffee for supporting Above the Yellow Line and TobyChristie.com. You can find all of our social pages linked in the description below, but before you check those out, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this with your friends and family, and guys, thank you so much for supporting us here at Above the Yellow Line and TobyChristie.com, and until next time, I'll see ya.